Hi, this is Meme Coin Mooners Moonbase, episode 6. I'm Ryan.
I'm Krusty.
I'm Michael.
And with us today, we have Alan, and we've got Dan from the Beach Token, and also with ROGE and PROGE, if you remember those from several months ago when those came out. Feels like years. How are you guys doing?
Yeah, good, really good. Just very, very busy with Beach and
good.
ROGE.
I've been advised to let Dan do most of the talking. I'm here mainly for mirth and poor jokes, so I'll let Dan do the most of the talking.
Okay, well that's fine. All right, so a lot of times we start with how you got into crypto, so I guess we'll start with that, and then we'll talk about your projects that you've got going on. Unless you want to do it in the opposite order, but
let's
up to you.
Follow your template.
Sure. So in that case, Dan, how did you get into crypto originally, and how did you manage to get into DeFi?
So yeah, I think I took the steps that kind of most people have done. So I've invested heavily in stocks, and was getting really excited by 10% gains, 15% gains, and was kind of talking to a friend, and he's like, "Mate, you've got to look at crypto." And I was like, "Okay, why?" And he's like, "Well, mate, 10% gains, like you need something that's going to do 500% in a day." It's like, nah, that doesn't happen. And yeah, so I got introduced to crypto, went the Binance route, as everyone did, and I thought Binance was complicated. And then someone's like, "Have you used Uniswap?" No. So got exposed to DeFi through Uniswap, PancakeSwap, and it's and then for ages I resisted Doge and the quote unquote shit coins, meme coins, and then the biggest win I had to date was Kishu, and you're just like, oh god, you once you're in, you're sucked in, and you're sucked in big. So I think what I ended up doing is just liquidating pretty much all of my stocks and going all into crypto, just because there's so much more liquidity, it's so much faster paced, and the gains are just much better. So and ended up going that route.
So the first time I ran into you was in ROGE and PROGE, and now, if I'm remembering correctly, because again, right, this has been like 100 years in crypto time. Yeah. So you didn't launch ROGE, is that correct?
Yep, no, that's right. So
you helped with the community takeover, right?
Yeah, exactly. So as I was finding my journey into meme coins, this was going into kind of the journey into meme coins kind of happened early part of this year, and it was just any dog coin at that time was just exploding as soon as it launched. So I joined ROGE. The dev abandoned day one, and as you see with so many projects, even now. And so we kind of took it over, and we had zero control over the contract, over the tokenomics. Luckily, there was no marketing wallets or anything associated with it. It was a really simple 1% redistribution smart contract, and so we decided to take a bit more control over the ROGE coin, to launch a protector coin called Protector Rogue Doge, which had much more complex tokenomics, including a buyback and burn on ROGE, which worked well, albeit the first launch we had on PROGE ended up being a bit of a train wreck. Reason being that the multi-signature wallet that we were using to kind of protect the community from rogue admins or whatever, that acts as its own smart contract in itself, and so that within a smart contract meant that it basically fucked up the cells. So when we launched, it was going amazing. We smashed through, I think, 2 million market cap in about 5-10 minutes. And yeah, and then suddenly you just heard people, I can't sell. And you're just like, oh no, people are going to think it's a honeypot. So yeah, it was a bit of a it was a shit launch just because it was going so well at the time, and then the FUD kicks in, and because it was a legit launch, and we weren't one of those trying to honeypot or anything. We're there trying to put the fires out, but obviously no one believes that in crypto. So in the end, what we had to do with PROGE is relaunch, airdrop all holders what they owned in the new one, drain the liquidity on PROGE V1, and relaunch with PROGE V2, which is pretty much what I think up to date there.
Yeah, right. So then how'd you get into Beach?
So what we said kind of with ROGE and PROGE is we did want to move them away from just the meme side of things. So every project I've been on, what we've kind of wanted to do is capture the very best of community coins, or the community of a meme coin, which it can take coins so far, but also to add utility to it. So with PROGE we had, and we still have, a really exciting roadmap on where we're taking it. And with Beach, what we were looking at is just going, well, look, it was an idea someone had around being more climate conscious, giving back as part of crypto. And because there are so many rugs, there are so many slow rugs, literal rugs, there's honeypots, just everything everywhere in crypto. There's almost a bit of a bad name for crypto. And we kind of wanted to go back to what crypto is, hand and power to the people, and sort of use it as a force for good. And so the Beach concept was born in that, yes, we can generate wealth for people, but at the same time, what we can do is build in some really cool tokenomics where we can actually then go out. We can have a hybrid approach of community activism. So our community will go and do beach cleans or river cleans or wood cleans of plastics. And we will actively seek various partnerships to fund them, to sponsor them, provide the materials necessary for them to continue to clean beaches all over the world. And I think we'll get into that a bit more, but I think we've got a number of partnerships now where we're looking to get to clearing 1 million. I think I can't remember the exact figures. We're looking to get to a point where we're clearing a shit ton of plastics every week, every year, and also create some partnerships where those plastics can then actually be put to use as well. So they're not just cleaned, they're recycled into products, and then that ties in with a part of our utility on the token as well.
Oh, that's fantastic. That's much different than the way that most coins go about it, which is simply, hey, there's this extra wallet that we use to give to some pre-existing pre-existing foundation of some sort. Yeah,
I think
so that's very different, and I think that's going to make you guys stand out a lot.
I think that point you raise is actually really, really important. So a lot of people in our community have said to us, why are you not partnering with this charity or this charity or this charity? And what we want is the ability to be very agile in our approach. So that money, and we've currently got, I think it's between $70,000 to $80,000, which is put into a clean ocean and a carbon blue fund. So that money is set aside. It's already been converted to stable coins. So there's no selling down of the project's tokens to retrieve this money. We've got about $70,000 to $80,000. It might even be more because we've had some really significant volume the last couple of days. And what we want is that money to actually go to frontline causes. So people that are actually doing things, and giving them the ability to do it bigger and better, rather than partnering with these huge charities where 70 to 80% of the money they get goes back into more sales and marketing, rather than actually going to the causes that they're actually there to help. So that was quite key, is we don't just want to chuck money at charities where it then just gets swallowed up by them employing more salespeople to generate more money. We actually want these to go to the causes that we're aiming to help.
That's a much better approach. I got to say, that's fantastic. Do you think that is that one of the only methods that a token that's looking to make a change like you guys are can employ, or do you envision some other kinds of methods to, particularly or especially regarding climate change? Like what other ways can you use to, sort of tackle that issue specifically related to crypto,
Yeah, absolutely. So one of the as well as the kind of the beach cleans, the river cleans. So we've so far planted 2,500 mangroves in the Philippines.
Wow.
Yeah, it's insane. And the reason that mangroves are so incredible is because they stop shoreline erosion. They provide a really amazing ecological habitat for marine life. They are incredibly effective carbon capturers. So I think it's something like 4 times more effective than a tree in the rainforest. And so you suddenly see mangroves as kind of being the first line of defense for low-lying coastal areas that get flooded or at risk of erosion or rising sea levels. And so we've gone down that route, but also what we wanted to do from a utility perspective, we have something called Beach Collective, which is our technology side of what we're looking to bring in. So Beach Collective features 3 arms. We have Beach Pay, Beach Shop, and Beach Gig. And the idea of it is that we are going to create an online or a decentralized marketplace for Beach Shop, which vendors can come on. They can work with us, whether they're green vendors outright or whether it's vendors that we're trying to help move towards being more climate conscious. What we will do is on that site there will be transaction fees, which are cheaper than Amazon or Etsy or not on the high street. Significantly cheaper than those platforms. And then we'll have Beach Pay, which will be the payment platform, which will also have a transaction on it, which will be cheaper than the likes of PayPal or Visa. And those transactions will also go into a carbon blue or a clean oceans fund. So we're trying to take the technological aspect into that as well, so that we can continue to kind of invest in these incredible projects through the use of legit projects, legit crypto utility.
Sounds like you guys are building like a great empire to fight climate change in crypto. That sounds awesome. What else were you thinking? In terms of I don't want to say utility, since you already have a lot of utility going for yourselves, but in terms of like crypto as a whole, right? Yeah. I mean, you guys were sort of starting a movement, but what other actions can cryptocurrencies take besides sponsoring certain organizations, or doing what you guys are doing, or trying to promote other companies to use your platform and also go green? Is there anything else they can do? Maybe reduce, I don't know, the mining. Of course, that's one of the big ones. But
hold on a second. All right, I want to rebut Krusty real quick. So crypto mining is, if you compare it to any country in the entire world, right? Crypto mining is more than 20% cleaner than the cleanest country that exists, right? More than 60% of crypto mining is done using renewable resources, primarily solar, right? And a large part of that is because of the cost that's associated with crypto mining. If you're not mining in China, right, which was the big issue with mining being bad for the environment was simply people who were mining in China based on these very cheap coal power plants, right? The issue is that outside of that, right, outside of China, where you have this ridiculously cheap energy that's dirty, most people don't want to pay what their energy costs are to run a lot of miners. And so it actually already incentivizes people to set up these solar farms. And that's why you'll see these people online who are setting up solar farms just for crypto mining. And
yeah,
so I think the idea that crypto mining is inherently bad for the climate just doesn't hold up when we look at how much of it is done with solar.
Yeah, I agree. I'm not saying it's inherently bad, but I am saying it's good to still try and reduce where you can, even in the areas where not entirely, entirely.
Look, I'm not disagreeing with you. I understand what your point is, and yes, I wish that we could get that 60% to like 70 or 80% based on solar. That would be fantastic and phenomenal, and something that we should aim for. But at the same time, I feel like the line about crypto being bad for the environment is something that's primarily propagated by the mainstream media in attempts to convince people that crypto is bad because they have various interests that are ideologically opposed to crypto, I guess is the best way to put it.
I think I agree. Certainly, if you look at earlier this year, the drop in Bitcoin, I personally believe was a manufactured drop rather than a proper bear market. I think it was manufactured by elite and rich people that wanted to load up, and because they know mass adoption is coming to crypto. And you could see just story after story, and one of them was obviously Elon putting out about Bitcoin being too environmentally damaging on mining. That being said, I think so one of the things we're actively looking at Beach is we can't say we're a climate change token, and then I saw stats which I need to verify, but to trade on the ERC network on Uniswap, the carbon footprint of it is crazy trading on there, and it's one of the things we're actually looking at is whether we migrate onto a cleaner system, AVAX or Algorand or FTM, because actually, honestly, and say I need to verify the stats, so I don't want to say look it's definitely true, but I've seen it from a couple of sources that the carbon footprint for trading on Uniswap is incredibly high. It's like crazy high. Just to do a Google search after this, and you'll be like, wow, that's insane. So it's things like that I think we can as a whole improve, and we have these networks coming through. As I said, the AVAX, and I think I need to check the green credentials of FTM, but I'm pretty sure it's fairly green. I think Ethereum right now is lagging hard. It needs 2.0 to come in big, especially with the NFTs getting minted all over the place on it.
Yeah, I'm not disagreeing with that. I would say that yeah, I mean the Ethereum blockchain is definitely heavy, right? And Ethereum mining is definitely heavy. I don't think that some of the criticisms that are lobbied at, or some of the criticisms that come that way, are necessarily deserved, seeing as, again, it's about 60% of it runs on clean energy. The thing is, the cleanest country in the world, right, runs on around 40% green energy, which is massively lower than mining. I don't have any problem with miners. I think that what they're doing is, for the most part, right, something that's good. And I think that if you're mining and you can mine on solar, then what you're doing is entirely good, right? And that's what people need to aim for. I think that think that that's what we need to push people towards, is towards greener mining practices. I don't think that we need to stop mining altogether. I think that proof of work is definitely a positive thing. We just need to push people to mine in ways that are cleaner.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know how we say that we do that, right? I mean, that's up to people who are smarter than me, I think.
yeah, that's it. To be honest, and this is, with COP26 going on at the moment. We've got 2 delegates at COP26 that are there in some capacity for Beach. It's COP26 is going to bring or shine a light on climate in a way that no other event is yet to do. There's never been an event that has been so widely publicized as COP26, and some of the deals coming out of it are amazing. The deforestation deal that was announced yesterday, reversing deforestation by 2030. There's so much coming out of it, and also I think one of the reasons why Beach is really well situated here is the young are the ones who are going to adopt crypto, and the young are the ones who are going to also lead the charge on climate change. And so having a project that resonates with young people that are blooding themselves into crypto is a way to future-proof yourself through the years. And it allows us to build a kind of, touching on that, what I said earlier about that fanatical kind of community element of the token. You only have to look at a Floki or a Kishu, a Doge, a SHIB, and see the support they have from their communities. Without, and they're getting around to utility now, but a fair few of them had absolutely none to begin with.
Right.
So it's,
well, we started seeing that. We saw that a lot after PROGE, when we created PROGE to devalue ROGE. Kishu did pretty much the same thing, not 3 or 4 weeks after, and we started seeing a lot of that happen pretty much as soon as we had kind of led the charge with it. And I mean, we took the mantle from Pressa beforehand, from another group that were doing that with another coin already. But as soon as we started seeing our tokenomics pretty much taken up by other coins, it was kind of, okay, yeah, we know we're doing the right thing here.
Yeah, very much.
I just want to put this out there, right? Without you guys, without PROGE, the Meme Coin Mooners group and Moonbase podcast wouldn't exist. I was in this other token at the time. It's a token called Shep, German Shepherdino, right? And we were trying to figure out a way that we could get that token moving again, right? It was in much the same situation as ROGE was in prior to PROGE. And I said, well, I just saw this other group launch this token that completely revived their other token. And why can't we do the same thing? And so when I got in touch with the guys who were big into that, we all decided, hey, why don't we just make a crypto group? And then eventually we decided, hey, why don't we make a podcast and stuff like that, right? And none of this would have happened had I not seen PROGE and said, hey, that's a really cool idea.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I mean, it's the number of things that touch other things in crypto and in the crypto space, the number of ideas that run into other ideas, and people will branch off of these and make something that's similar but slightly different, or the same thing but better, or occasionally the same thing but worse, is astounding.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's, you only have to look at during the manufactured bear run this year. I think one of the tokens to do incredibly well was Forever Up. The massively high tax with the buybacks and burns, creating friendly whale wallets. And it was new, it was innovative in terms of tokenomics. People hadn't seen it before, and it was crazy. and it created FOMO for every time they were going to do a buyback and burn, and people started buying in because they knew there was going to be this massive buy and burn. And all of a sudden you see 30, 40, 50 new coins with exactly the same tokenomics pop up, and you know, it just takes someone with a bit of, you know, innovation and interesting thinking to just create something a little bit new. And yeah, the crypto world runs with it. And
I know, it was astounding just having been in this space since, I guess, well, in DeFi specifically, right? I've been in crypto for a long time, but in DeFi since March, there were tokens that came out in March that had this idea that with every transaction we can burn some small amount of the token, and therefore the token will have to just go up in value forever, right? And everyone's kind of like questionable about it and thinks that that's kind of dumb. And now we look at every single token that's launched and it has some kind of either burn feature or redistribution feature or some other kind of tokenomics. And tokenomics wasn't even a word at the time when people were starting to come up with this. And that was only several months ago in real time, right? It feels like it's decades in crypto time because crypto moves so incredibly fast. And these ideas that people have develop and redevelop.
I genuinely think that will get put in the dictionary.
Yeah.
Crypto time?
Yeah.
We will. Definitely.
Yeah, I mean, probably will. Yeah. And it's just astounding how
I think tokenomics is going to be in the dictionary. Tokenomics has to be in the dictionary.
I don't think that it will. I don't think it'll be long before tokenomics ends up in the dictionary now. I think as soon as crypto is more widely adopted, tokenomics is definitely in the dictionary. Because how else do you describe what a token does from the contractual viewpoint, right? I mean, that's it. It's the tokenomics. And that was not a word in March. Right now it's a word. Now it's a word, and not only is it a word,
all I'm looking forward to is my
crypto
phone
that
learning
launches
words, because I dictate all of my Telegram groups.
Oh, do you really? Okay, that's interesting. Yeah, tokenomics probably is not going to show up then. Yeah, so it's something that now not only does every single
Telegram runs slowly for me. I'm about 10 to 20 seconds behind on Telegram all the time. So when I type things, it catches up really slowly. So I have to dictate, and it always says token comics.
Nice. But my point was just this, right? Not only is it now a word, not only is it something that almost every new token that launches has, every token that launches that has a website has a section of their website that is dedicated to nothing but describing their tokenomics. This was unheard of less than a year ago.
Yeah, I mean, it's. I mean, the tokenomics are a huge part to Beach. I was laughing as you were going through because I was like, yeah, we got the redistribution, yeah, we've got the burn, yeah, we've actually got a true burn on it. So our it shows up on Etherscan, and we don't send it to a burn wallet. There's a true burn. But yeah, I was like, yeah, we got that. Yeah, we got that. It is so important to projects now. But what it has done is interesting as well, because one of the questions that I get all the time is when CEX, that's pretty much probably the top asked question. When are we listing on an exchange? And we've got really complex tokenomics. We've got 15% tax on buys and sells, and that's split between redistribution, a true burn. We have a boost fund. So on what we do is on Ethereum, and we're also on Binance Smart Chain. What we do is have a portion of it go to convert immediately to a stable coin. And then if Ethereum dips, because we are paired with Ethereum on ERC, we can top up either the liquidity pool, or we can do a buy into our token to prop the price up. So and if if there's a mass sell-off or anything, we can also push and prop that price up a bit. And likewise on BSC with BNB, if there's a dip on BNB or there's a drop in the price, we've got a fund that allows us to buy into the token or improve the liquidity pool to look after the token's health and protect it from dips in the market, which helps. It's great to have that. And then, as I mentioned earlier, we've got those Clean Ocean and Carbon Blue funds as well, which we did an event last Sunday where we put all of the basically everything that we couldn't get, so redistributions and true burn account for 5% of that 15%. So of that 10%, we put everything towards the Carbon Blue and Plastic Ocean fund, and I think we raised like $22,000 in a day towards those funds. Yeah, and so it was crazy because we've now got about between $70,000-$80,000 which we can use on these global projects to plant more mangroves. And it's not even just about what we don't want to do. We don't just want to plant, walk away, take a nice little picture and be like, yeah, pat on the back. We're working with schools around education, the education piece. We are working to we're actually looking at, because on the last mangroves we planted, there's a couple of really bad floods afterwards, so we're not sure if all the mangroves are going to take. So what we've actually done is also pay for someone who is a mangrove planting specialist to go out to the area and teach them. Or sorry, I think the first one we're doing is a Zoom call, but the next step is that we are potentially going to pay for them to go to the area and teach them how to properly cultivate these mangroves so that we can get a much higher success rate on every seedling planted. So it's all about leaving that legacy, continuing that partnership, rather than just going, this is a great photo opportunity, let's do it, put it out there, try and get people to buy off the back of it. That's not what this is about.
How'd you come in contact with the people who know how to plant these trees, or even the ones that know how to teach it? And like, I always wondered that when there's actual outreach for these for like tokens that go for good causes, how'd you like find them? It's not as simple as just a Google search, is it? Or what's their reaction when you tell them that you're crypto? Like,
right, that's a great question. So look, and this is kind of one of the things we're trying to change. I think because we're not at mass adoption for crypto yet, I think people are a little bit wary when they hear of crypto because they've never done it before. It's like your nan saying, "Oh, nan, transfer me some money over the internet." And she's like, "No, why would I do that? I don't know where my money's gone. That's not real. I'm going to the post office to withdraw it." And it's like, "No, nan, just do it online." It's like, no, it'll get lost. And that's how the majority of the public kind of think about crypto. I think is they don't understand it. They don't get it. So there's a little bit of, I don't know what the right word for it be, hesitation, maybe a bit scared about it. But we are starting to see more and more people kind of get into it. And when we're kind of explaining what we're doing, I think in poorer countries, I think we're tending to see people actually seem to be more open to crypto, just because I think they need to be. They need to have these potential income sources, whereas I think bigger corporates are still a bit reticent to use it. Although saying that, in this week alone, there's Burger King, McDonald's, Coke. Who's the other one? Yeah, Facebook, of course, Facebook. And so we are getting to mass adoption now with these kind of companies coming on board. And it's interesting, like Burger King and McDonald's and Coke, because they're three of the worst for plastic pollution. it doesn't get much worse than them. So
we constantly see it when we're doing the cleanups. We see a few logos, and there's those three right up there.
yeah, it's crazy. But the thing is, if they're getting into crypto, it's great because it allows us to open doors with starting to look at these relationships. So that, you know, there's partnerships we're working on at the moment I can't say too much about, but you know, a couple of these partnerships are they're a link to creating an ecosystem of potentially working and engaging with some of these corporates around what they do with their plastics, how they make them more recyclable, how they can use the plastics that are already out there rather than new plastics. So you know, some really kind of innovative stuff going on.
That's really cool. I guess what I want to touch on, I actually want to touch on this earlier. I just remembered now. You guys have NFTs, right? Since that's all big and also contributing to the cost of gas. It's called Kelp, right? Is that what you're calling it?
So yes, we will be doing NFTs. One of the things we need to look at, so kelp farms, yeah, that's another thing we're currently looking at. So in potentially investing into a kelp farm. So I think initially we wanted to go down the route of potentially fractionalizing the NFT for potentially ownership. I don't think that's the route we're going to go anymore, but we are still looking at the NFT route. But again, because of our ethos, because of what we're standing for, we've got to be really careful about the platform we use, the gas it consumes, the carbon footprint it leaves behind. So NFTs are something we're doing. It's kind of under conversation at the moment. It's very likely that there's a very obvious rarity element to it by looking at the animals that are close to extinction due to plastic pollution, and the rarity of them as to the rarity of the NFTs we can have. So yeah, there's a very obvious link to kind of scaling NFTs with the right rarity on them, but it's just a case we haven't quite finalized how this looks, but it's definitely in the pipeline.
The very long, wide pipeline.
Yeah.
All right, so I've got one more question real quick. So you guys launched on Ethereum first, right? And you are also now on BSC, is that correct?
Yes.
Would you like to tell us a little bit about that?
No.
Yeah.
Okay, well that's fine. Never mind. Just pretend I didn't ask.
We will, because it is this is the second top question in the group. So yeah, when CEX
this is one of the FAQs that's getting set up is just one. We've in our Telegram we have a customized bot that we call Hoff, because it's set up as in David Hasselhoff will answer your questions. If you use the commands, the custom Hoff bot will answer you. And awesome. we are in the process of setting up a replies to certain trigger words that will give people the answer as to why we have the 2 tokens.
Yeah. Look, let's give you the answer ultimately. So we set up the BSE one because gas fees on Ethereum are just ridiculous. You know, for people that want to maybe put in $10 to $100, that over the last few weeks they would have had to pay anywhere between $80 and $600 in gas to buy that amount. And we want crypto is meant to be decentralized. It's meant to be for everyone. And with those kind of gas fees, that is prohibitive to it being fully decentralized, because you can't have people that can only afford to put in $10, $20, $30, $50 because they can't afford to pay up to $600 in gas fees. So what we said is, look, gas fees are pennies on BSC. Let's set up. What we did is say anyone that's holding ERC before we launch, if they hold for a certain period of time, they will vest up to 50% of their ERC holding in Binance Smart Chain as a reward for holding over a period. I think there's 3 vesting periods. So the reason we didn't bridge is we looked at the FEG model, and FEG are on, I think, 3 different platforms. I think about to launch another 2 or 3 different platforms. And we just said, look, for us, this is the way that we want to do it. We feel this is the best way. We feel that, probably over the longer term, when gas fees get to a decent amount, I think what you would do if you wanted to buy Beach is look at both Binance Smart Chain and Ethereum and see which one was cheaper. And so ultimately the one that's lagging will end up catching up. And we saw it to begin with. We had people that were on Binance Smart Chain moaning because Ethereum was way ahead. And then our BSC chart just absolutely exploded this week. I think we topped at about 15 million market cap yesterday.
Wow.
Bit of a retrace today. I think we're about 10.5 million today, but it was needed because it went from about 3 million to 15 million in a really short space of time.
It was too much. I mean, one of the things that we've kind of prided ourselves on is not stooping to the when moon crowd. We've got a trajectory. We've got what we want to do. We've got a plan in motion, and it's working. So the thought of 100x in 2 days is just, it's not what would make this coin work. It needs steady incremental growth. That's that, and we had that, and we obviously this week, for whatever reason, suddenly we just saw some crazy jump in the charts, and it did exactly what we expected it to. The people that made that happen are the ones that jumped out the quickest. And what we want is just this steady, long chart that is throwing volume at us, which is ideally what we need. The tax system works in and out. So as much as we don't encourage selling, who does? But what we really need is volume, and obviously we'll take it preferably through purchases, but if we can get it through sales, volume is volume.
Absolutely.
I mean, the other thing that we had a bit of an issue because it wasn't a spur of the moment decision to just launch a BSC coin, because at that time I think there was Hock was having their Telegram was difficult to be in any time because of the amount of FUD being caused by BSC holders almost verbally fighting, and they would be physical if they were in the same room together, because the charts were just not aligned in the slightest. You can't have a coin 6 months old and then suddenly launch a new one and then focus all of your attention on the new one and all of the ERC holders. We saw this happening, and we said, okay, how can we make that not happen? What were the things that went wrong? What can we do to prove to the ERC holders that they're not getting left behind? We cultivate both as much as possible, and that is the entire reason that we wanted the BSC coin, was so that everyone can get involved. If you got $10 or $10,000, I don't like BNB. I hadn't used it once until we launched the coin. I prefer Ethereum, even with the gas fees. And I know a lot of you guys do in MCM. I've been in your group for a long time.
Yeah, so most of us do tend to prefer Ethereum here. I've got some BSC plays that I'm into. Actually, ironically enough, Hokkaido is one of them. I've got Hokkaido on BSC. And I believe that with their relaunch that they're doing this week, and if anybody here wants to listen to the Hokkaido people talk, they'll be on the show either next week or the week after. But I believe, and I could be wrong, that part of this relaunch is addressing that issue of the disconnect between the two tokens.
So let me ask you guys, with the launch of the BSC version of your token, what lessons learned did you have? Would you do things any differently at this point? And the next part of that question is, what would you recommend to other projects that are looking to do the same? Because this question pops up on every ERC token. I think nowadays it's, hey, when are you considering BSC? Gas is too high, right? So what's your feedback on that?
So what we have always done, and I don't know how much if you guys kind of were in the PROGE chat when we launched, the key aspect of our team across any project is transparency. When things aren't maybe as good, is transparency. So it's I think for us, it's fairly easy in that, look, this is a decision we've made because we feel it benefits the token, the overall project, and we're going to run with it. And we understand that some people might not be happy. However, all we can promise is that we will do what we can to ensure that both tokens follow a similar trajectory in terms of kind of market cap. And I think if you look at ours side by side, taking aside the absolutely crazy last 2 or 3 days on BSC, the charts pretty much mirror each other. I mean, the ERC chart at the moment is a thing of absolute beauty.
I'm looking at it right now. It's great.
It doesn't get much. But then saying that, before yesterday, BSC was even better from a chart perspective. It was breaking every rule. It was just going up and up and up, and all-time highs every day. Ultimately, what then happens is there's a day where you suddenly have a pullback, and everyone thinks it's Armageddon. You're like, come on, we've just done like 600% in a week and a bit. Like, what more do you want from us? So there's, I think it takes a little bit of trying to cultivate that culture of, we're not, for us, I don't look at the charts too much. I know a lot of the admins don't pay a lot of attention, because our goal here is to take this into a much bigger project, and so 10 million is great. It's another zero killed. Let's talk when we've killed another zero and we're at 100 million. Now I'm going to be getting excited. That's the kind of ambition levels we've got for it. So in terms of launching on BSC, what advice would you give? I think just be open with your community. Give them time to digest what you're doing. Don't just kind of spring it on them as, hey, we're doing this tomorrow, get involved. I think kind of explain the logic behind what you're doing, explain why you're doing it, give them some time to digest it. But as an owner of a project, or as a team of admins on a project, you have to back your decisions for it. So there may well be people that will never agree with it. That's fine. They're not the ones leading the project. We are, and we've got to make the decisions we feel are best.
And what benefit would it be to the people that have already bought in? That was the big thing for me in terms of seeing. I mean, I was involved with I'm in another group with people that are quite heavily involved with Hock, and just seeing what they had to deal with, what lessons we learned from that is how can we make sure that the people that have the ERC token already don't just dump the coin to zero and then buy the BSC. The last thing we wanted was to sort of leave anyone behind. So encouraging, they are two different ecosystems really as well. If you look at the amount of holders that we've got on BSC is 8,500, where we've actually, just while we've been talking, we've hit 800 on ERC, but the market caps aren't that far away from each other. That means that the sort of investment per person on ERC is 10 times higher than the BSC side. that's not the same type of person that is going to be involved in crypto, and we need those two groups to coexist, and that's not easy. It's not easy at all. And when we saw other coins try and fail, we knew that by having the vesting period for the ERC tokens, it means that people are still willing to carry on buying the ERC. We have people that bought the BSC tokens that know that they're in safe hands because we've already got this established criteria with not just ROGE admin, but then PROGE, and then with Beach ERC. And now, okay, look, we're doing the same. And then when we saw, when we saw the charts go to a 15 million market cap over the last couple of days, it was shocking. But people can see that we are doing the right thing for the entire community. We're not looking at the ERC, we're not looking at BSC, we're looking at Beach as a community, and what we do benefits everyone.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, so I'll say what you mentioned about PROGE was kind of hits home. So I remember I held ROGE, and whenever I found out about the PROGE launch, I told one of my friends to get into ROGE because PROGE is going to launch, and watch what happens to this token. It's going to do really, really well. And he said, yeah, okay. He bought some. And then the launch didn't go spectacularly. We'll just put it that way, right?
That was
I only got 20 death threats. Only 20.
I know. He's over here like, what the hell? You told me this was going to do something. You told me this was going to be good. And I said, just wait, just wait. I trust the guys that are working on the relaunch. Yeah. It's going to be okay. And I held, and everything was great. And he did not. And then when it relaunched and everything pumped again, he freaked out because I was up a whole lot and he was not. And yeah, so whenever you launch any other kind of token related to a pre-existing token, it can have either astounding or devastating effects, right? If you want another example of that, look at Tails and what's happened with Knuckles and Gold Sonic. And the fact that they launched Knuckles so quickly after launching Tails was, I mean, it tanked Tails. That was rough.
Well, we had the opposite. When we launched PROGE, ROGE pumped. When PROGE landed on CoinGecko, ROGE and PROGE pumped. When ROGE landed on CoinGecko, PROGE and ROGE pumped. When it was cyclical because they were so intrinsically linked. When one worked, the other worked, and we knew that. The problem was it was kind of smugly arrogant of the admin or the crew that were behind it. We knew that was going to happen, and we kept saying, people kept asking, which one should I buy then, ROGE or PROGE? And we sound like dicks saying, both, buy both. You should buy both, because every trade from one benefited the other in some way or another, because people eyes on one put more eyes on the other, and that is exactly what we knew would happen. But the amount of I got into ROGE by accident completely. A friend of mine that got me into crypto in the first place, he bought ROGE, and we heard, no, I can't substantiate this, so this is just rumor, but we heard at the launch that it was created by the Hawk developer to test ARF redistribution tech to make sure the contract was going to work, because they launched around the same time. It was it looked like it could be true. So ROGE had quite a good launch. And my friend,
yes, I also remember that thread on Biz that made that claim. That's why I bought in.
And now I had quite a popular social media platform because I used to run a comedy account on Twitter. So a friend of mine just said, do you mind just posting a few tweets about this coin I've just bought into? And I was like, no problem at all. So I started posting some tweets about it, and then I joined the Telegram. I joined Telegram because of ROGE, and I joined the Telegram, and then the admin would just, this guy's got 6,000-7,000 followers. Let's see if we can get him on board. And the next thing I know, I'm in the admin group, and I didn't even own any ROGE. I was just helping a friend of mine out. So one of the sort of core holders just said, right, I'll send you a few $100s. And I'm like, really? This is crazy. You shouldn't really. So I held my ROGE for nearly 6 months. And then when we decided to launch PROGE and I was like invited to the team, like, I mean, I came up with the name Beach. It was to think that I literally started trading crypto in March, just before the first SHIB pump. That was it. That was the first time I'd ever touched crypto at all. I'd never traded anything. I'm technically illiterate. I just happen to be quite popular on social media.
That's fantastic. So I know that we're running up on time, and Krusty's going to give me a really hard time if we don't cut things off in just a second. So the last question for the podcast, then we'll get into the AMA. But my last question, really quickly, since we've talked about Beach so much, do you have anything else planned for PROGE and ROGE coming up?
Yes.
It's okay if the answer is no.
Perfect. So it's following Beach's lead in that it's now taken an animal welfare stance, and will continue to move that way. So where Beach is going to be focused on plastic pollution and carbon blue initiatives, PROGE will be looking at PROGE and ROGE, the twins will be looking at kind of animal welfare issues around the world. And we've recently worked with one of the partners at Beach in the Philippines to have our first partnership with an animal shelter out there, where we donated food and goods to the shelter. And so that will continue. Now the Beach collective element that we talked about earlier, the utility aspect of it, the twins with PROGE and ROGE, they will be kind of heavily involved in how that pans out. So there's a little bit of a leap of faith in asking our holders of PROGE and ROGE to know there is a plan for the project. It's just that we need to get everything set up properly so that we can bring PROGE and ROGE with us through the story and make them the success that they should be.
All right. That sounds fantastic. Well, I want to thank you guys for coming on. We'll start the AMA in just a second, but we're going to do a quick sign off, and then we'll start the AMA.
Yeah. Thanks for joining us, guys. It was a pleasure to have you on. Learned a lot about the beach, and now I like the beach even more than before, which I didn't think was possible. So thanks, guys. Good having you.
Thanks for having us on.
This has been Meme Coin Mooners Moonbase, and we'll talk to you guys next week.
If you'd like to be a guest or sponsor on a future podcast, please email us at admin@moonbase.show. And as always, join our off-the-air discussions in Telegram by visiting memecoinmooners.group.